gentlemen, on this 5th day of July, in the year 2050, I, Lady Gillespie, am proud to present to you Toothless Hawkins and his robot jazz band. I want to revolve.
Nice! Finally, it's time for our first live stream, boys. How are you feeling? That might be true, actually. It's been a while, but I guess we had it coming in the sense. But yeah.
Feels good. My Maltese internet is not very nice to me today, though, so bear with me.
Someone said Mika no sound.
Yeah, that's true. I have no sound. But now I have sound.
Great. Good stuff.
I put you in on, but myself I didn't.
Alright. Well, we get there. No, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good.
So basically, yeah, because of the Maltese internet, some of us might be cutting down a bit every now and then, but you know, we'll try to do our best. Today we're gonna start talking about esports as a whole, as a response to us not being able to film more weekly stuff. So this is our way to try to kind of fix things and be able to still communicate with the community. So I think we want to start with some Counter-Strike. There's ESL Pro League Season 11 going on.
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty much the only thing going on, to be honest, but, you know, we had some pretty fun results yesterday.
Yeah, I have the results up now. So, yesterday, ENS got beaten by Team Spirit, and Vitality wiped out Godsend, and NIP rocked the world, beating Astralis.
Let's just start with the first things first. I mean, at this point, it's kind of sad. Ends what's going on. Like there was the tweet yesterday that was shown on the broadcast saying that Ens's next map pick should be the roster change, and at this point, I'm kind of starting to believe it myself too.
I mean, honestly, we talked about it, I think, already a couple of months ago, and that was before Ice Challenge and before DreamHack Anaheim. They ended last in both of those, and I mean, it already felt before that like it was time, and it's just honestly it's getting worse and worse. In my opinion, I mean, I don't see like it's actually getting worse, and I don't understand how it's possible, but that's where we are. Like the yesterday on Inferno, 16-2. I mean, I don't know if I've seen a team at this level play that bad as they did yesterday on that map. The second map was close, but I mean, we have talked about it so many times. Ends are close, winning maps here and there, but it's just not enough. Like it's about time something happens.
Yeah, for sure. It was like such a bad performance yesterday, and after their last BTS, they said, "Okay, it's feeling better. We are feeling good, and we are playing better than ever." But it didn't show yesterday. It was not good.
No, and it's kind of just borderline sad at this point. Like, it's not surprising in any way. As a Finn, I always kind of I just want good things for Finnish teams and players, but I think we're at a point at the moment where something drastic needs to happen, and obviously it feels like we shouldn't be speaking about ends that much anymore, but because it feels like they're gone. It's hard to see them bounce back without major changes. I mean, there's a lot of talks about Ariel should be replaced, and actually he hasn't been performing this bad since the summer of 2017. And Sunny is not even close to where he should be. X7 and Sergey are both disappeared completely, so I don't know. Obviously, kudos to Spirit. They played really well, but as a biased Finn, it's just miserable. I mean, it was only the first series of the league, but when you start the league like that, it doesn't promise that much good for the future.
Oh, I think it's you. Oh shit. Oh, technical issues.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Anyway, I think looking at how they play, it's not about losing games. It's not about losing maps. It's the way they do it. They aren't even close. Most of the rounds yesterday against Spirit was just. I mean, they were just totally outclassed. They lost every single duel. I think there was a funny statistic though that they did win opening duels for whatever reason most of the time, but they still managed to lose the rounds. And I don't know. I don't see any hope. I didn't see any hope at the beginning of the year either, but I feel like people gave them a lot of excuses, new roster changes, being unlucky, whatever it was. But at this point, I don't see this turning around, especially not to the level they used to be at. And also, I don't think like one roster move really would make a change. It's a fundamental issue in the team. I think they need to restructure everything. Something drastic needs to happen. I also want to point out, I think the only player who's performing is Alu. I think I've seen a lot of games where he has actually been going off, like he's been playing really well on an individual level. But the rest of the team, I think, are definitely not doing well. And like Sergey was really, really good last year, obviously, and he hasn't shown anything this far. Like he had 3 kills yesterday on the first map. He stepped up a little bit on the second one, but for me, it's not even close. And I don't know. I think it's time to change something up really big. Honestly, this is not working out at all.
Yeah, biggest thing for me is like I don't know what happened to Ariel, because I remember him to be the clutch player, the one-on-one guy, wants to duels. But right now, I didn't see like one duel win yesterday. I think every like major problems in a counter-terrorist side is like Ariel just letting them by. I don't know what happened to him. I think it's going worse and worse. And as they said in PTS, some players are taking the critique harder than else, and I think Ariel is the one who is like suffering about the critique and bad performance?
I don't know. I think there's a lot of fingers being pointed at Ariel X7 sometimes. Obviously, Sonny's getting criticized a bit as well because he's the new guy, right? But I really feel like it's almost unfair to even point one guy out. I think the whole team is just underperforming heavily. So, but I do understand, but I really think it's more of a team issue than individual player issue at this point.
Yeah, I mean, well,
it's sad.
Yeah, it is sad. Basically, yeah. Well, then we could look at the second matchup of the day, which was the dun 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 dun. Oh my lord! It was
the Vitality.
Yeah, Vitality and Godsend. Expected result, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll find it here. I don't have it open yet, but
no worries. I got it for you right over here.
Well, to add, it was pretty funny because we had some betting tips out yesterday, and in the first game we had 2 correct ones, and same in the Vitality Godsend game. I think it's pretty expected the Godsend 1-2-0, but then again, it's the same as we see a lot nowadays, that the underdog picks Vertigo and almost wins or wins. But now Godsend was really close on Vertigo, but then it was kind of a shutout on Nuke, and I think it's pretty obvious that Vitality is just the strongest team skill-wise, and I don't know, Godsend is interesting. They're doing really well, like they're doing much better than people expected them to do, but it's not really enough against a team who's as good as Vitality, even if they had a roster change.
Yeah, looking at, like, I was expecting Vitality to have a rocky road in the beginning after Alex stepped down for personal reasons, you know, being their IGL. You can expect the team to have hard times because in my books, kind of filling the IGL spot is the hardest by far. And Miseta was performing really well. I mean, +7 compared, like, RPK was on top with +16 and 1.37 rating, and Miseta was the second with +7 and 1.23 AD rating, which is really good.
I think he had some good rounds. He had some pretty good clutches, but he also had quite a few spots where you could see, I don't know if it's nerves or if it's whatever. He did struggle sometimes, but he also stepped up and won a lot of rounds that Vitality basically looked like they were losing. So I think it was pretty good, and I think it might have been very good for him to start out with, you know, online games instead of LAN games. Like, it might actually be a good thing for Vitality. It probably takes the pressure off a little bit, you know. So I think it was a good start for sure, and we'll see. I mean, obviously, like you said, the in-game leader role is big, and it usually shakes a team up. But at least this far, Vitality is still, in my books, looking pretty strong. We'll see when they play better teams, though. It might look a bit different, of course.
Yeah. What about how do you see things from Godsend perspective?
In my opinion, they are doing really well. I mean, I don't expect almost anything from this team, honestly. I didn't either, you know. And they have been beating teams kind of left and right, and they seem like they can upset almost anybody. I mean, like I said, they were really close to winning Vertigo in this matchup, and if they did, we would have up, and who knows how that would have ended, you know. I really think Godsend is looking pretty good, and I really think they could take a third spot in this group. I don't think that's impossible. It's going to be hard, but I definitely see them as better than both ENCE and Spirit, and then potentially NIP, even if NIP actually won against Astralis. I think on paper they have a good chance to end up third in this group, honestly.
Okay. Well, then we go to the big surprise, which was NIP 2-0ing Astralis. I'm pretty sure that everybody can say this is quite unexpected, even considering the way NIP wins, like 16-6 and 16-8. It's not like it was a tight game. And Jan actually just froze completely. Apologies for that.
Yeah.
Oh, he's back!
Yeah,
I have no idea what's going on, but yeah, it's not going too well.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one is more frozen, Janne or Astralis right now, because Astralis really didn't look good yesterday.
Am I actually back? Like, can you hear
Yeah,
me?
you are, Jan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, Astralis looked really, really bad yesterday. I'm not sure how they managed to look that bad because, I mean, credit obviously to NIP. They played better than anybody expected, but that was a bad performance by Astralis as well. So, will be interesting to see moving forward. But I think Astralis losing terribly to Navi in Katowice and then this. It's pretty hard to tell, honestly, what's going to happen.
Yeah, and it's interesting to point out that when you look at the stats, like the player stats, Magisk was the only one that was like plus minus even a 0. Zipnix -4, Glaive -9, Device -13 with a 0.7 rating, and Dupree -20 with 0.62 rating. Like none of the Astralis players were even on 1 in ratings,
Yeah.
which is something that is really, really, really rare.
Yeah, but the good thing about this format is that you can have one bad day. It doesn't really matter because it's league type and not like if you are good you have a bad day in a regular tournament. It's like you're gonna have a one day or a few hours to come back, but now you have a few days to come back. So this really makes it easier for good teams to be consistent because if you have one bad day, you don't have to worry about it. You can just do your usual thing and come back stronger next day. But of
I
course,
think our stream is frozen.
what?
I think our stream is frozen. No? No, it's working.
Seems
Okay.
fine to me. Maybe it's your Maltese internet as well, because
Yeah,
mine's
Yeah.
terrible.
I'm pretty sure our chat will let us know if we are frozen.
Hmm.
But
No.
Anyway, where were we?
Well, we were talking about, obviously, this is just one game, and I really think Astralis, I mean, it's not good. They had, quite a few, like, they didn't win anything for a long time either. Like, we always talk about them being the number one, and obviously now Navi is ranked number one as well, and they look really strong. So Astralis has lost the number one spot, but they have also done so before and come back really, really strong. So I still think they should beat Ends, they should beat Spirit, Godsent as well. They have so many opportunities to come back. This is just one bad result,
Yeah.
but it's definitely time for them to pick it up again, though, because Katowice wasn't great either. So if they want to be, the dominant number one again, then this is not good enough. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at Astralis' performance overall, they got to the top in early 2017. They were number one for half a year. Then they had their first, and by spring 2018 they were ranked 8th, and then by summer 2018 they were number one again, and then they had their downfall last year during the summer for a bit before they came back during the autumn. I don't know, obviously, per se, because one thing that might affect it is that Astralis is doing so much more than just playing Counter-Strike at the moment, right? The organization is growing rapidly. They went to the stock market as the first esports organization. So there are a lot of things that might affect the situation. Like I said, I don't know per se if it's something that affects the players' performance, but after all, Astralis is partly player-owned, so it's more for them than just playing. So I don't know if the business side is taking too much time and kind of concentration from the gaming part. Could it be? I mean, it might be a possibility, obviously, but yeah, don't know for good.
Well,
I don't know, just an idea.
I mean, sure, and I think as long as they've been in the top, but they had those dips, I think it's quite fair to assume that sometimes there are things taking up time, and the motivation to keep on grinding and being the best isn't always there the same way, because they usually have come back to the majors and done amazingly. So I do think there are periods where they are focusing on other things as well, to some degree at least, and to stay at the top and be as good as they are when they are on the best takes a lot of time and effort. So I do think there's something to it, but then we might be overreacting to one bad result now online, because like I said, in Katowice they weren't terrible or anything, they just had that one massive loss against Navi, obviously. So we might be overreacting a little bit, and I think it's going to be interesting to see the upcoming games for that reason.
Yeah, for me, I don't think Astralis is like the number one right now. I think he is one of the best ones, but it's not the same as year before when Astralis was the one to beat. There is now number of teams competing for that number one spot, so I don't think like one bad result is that bad right now. If this result happened 1 year ago, I wouldn't be this relaxed about it. But right now, Astralis ain't the dominant one. It's one of the best ones, but not dominance.
Well, if I put it this way, it seems like if we look at Counter-Strike as a whole, so Counter-Strike just had the highest player peak of all time. Like, we have over 1 million players playing at once. Tournaments are having more interactions than before. I mean, it's safe to say that Counter-Strike as a game and as a community is growing to a new level at the moment, which is funny in the sense because a lot of people were saying that it's a dead game last year, but data is proving otherwise. Now, with that said, it seems that we're actually getting to a point where we have more than one teams that can actually compete for the number one spot in the world.
I think the competition is much higher now. Honestly, there's so many teams that are doing much better. At the time when Astralis was dominating completely, there was a lot of teams in disarray, basically. And now I think we have a lot of teams that are challenging really hard. Obviously, Navi are looking great. We have Mouse Sports, we have G2 stepping up massively. There's a lot of teams out there who are doing much better right now. So I think the competition is much higher. I do agree with that for sure.
Yeah, and like it's actually surprising. I haven't checked the top 20 lately, but G2 is number 3 in the world. Mouse Sports 4. G2 is number 3 team ranked in the world. Like, it's crazy.
I mean, it might be, but they were looking really, really good, I think, or they have been looking good for a long time, actually, since they acquired Nexa and Hunter. And I think basically they dominated in Katowice, besides when going up against Navi, and Navi looked, well, unstoppable. So I think G2 was clearly the second best team in Katowice, and I think they are looking very solid. I am actually surprised they are doing that well, but I think it's well deserved.
Yeah, and it's just positive at the end of the day. I mean, the more teams we have competing from the top, the better it is.
Yeah.
Am I being retarded? But how can I get the pop-up from the chat? Like, so I don't need to have the full stream on.
Actually, it used to be easy back in the day, and now I can't find it either.
It might be that it's not doable anymore. Could it be?
I have no idea. But I just wanted to add as well, I think there's a bunch of other teams that are now, like fnatic, are looking better than they have been in a very, very long time. We have FaZe, who's, in my opinion, FaZe might even be a top 3 team in the world. They were super unlucky to play this kind of Navi twice in Katowice. I think FaZe is probably really underrated right now. I think they look amazing. Also, we have other teams, obviously, who play pretty well, like 100 Thieves went to a quarterfinal in Katowice, that's good. But then I think the only two, or the region rather, that's struggling is the NA region, because both Liquid and Evil Geniuses are looking I don't know, weaker than you would expect. I don't know why they fell off that hard lately, but other than that, it's super stacked and a lot of teams are performing really, really well. So
Okay, Teemu, you go to settings and switch to non-mod settings. You get pop-out chat there.
Non-mod.
Non-mod.
Huh! Pop-up chat. Nice. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Perfect.
That's why I'm here. I don't know that much
So-
about CS:GO, but I know about the technique.
So can I say that I have a Twitch guy now? So
Yeah.
if I need something, yeah, I have a. I also I want to get to like Harvey Specter kind of point where I can say that I have a suit guy, a castle guy, you know, a guy for everything. That's like the dream world. Just make a phone call. Yeah, you need an elephant? I got your back, bro. Just one phone call away.
one
All
day,
right.
brother.
Yeah, one day. The day is probably very far in the distant future, but you know, man's gotta have dreams.
Yeah.
Enough of Counter-Strike, I think.
Or,
Should
or,
we?
No.
or maybe we should check out what's happening today.
Yeah, I think we should look at the 3 games that are being played today, and we
good
can check
idea.
at some of the odds as well.
Yes.
I think it's quite interesting stuff.
Yeah. So today the matches we have are going to be. We have Force versus Complexity.
Yeah.
Navi versus No, and fnatic versus Big or Big, however you want to say. It's fair to say that the best ones are saved into the evening. Force and Complexity, well, my idea is that it should be quite easy win for Complexity. It's theirs to win for sure. Force has shown that they can upset and surprise everybody, but I doubt they will be able to do it in this matchup.
Same. I mean, I'm super impressed by Complexity ever since these guys got together, basically, or at least the latest results. They had that blast run where they beat Astralis and Vitality. I mean, that was kind of the start to everything, it felt like. And I don't know, they're looking super solid. I really like how they played. They played very good fundamental Counter-Strike. Lately, they won against Godsend, and I think there was MIBR in there and Sprout or something. But either way, I think those wins, they looked super solid. I really, Force, like you said, they are a team who can, you know, they randomly seem to win every now and then against better teams. But I really, really like Complexity. They are not super aim stars, in my opinion. They just play very good fundamentals. It kind of reminds me to some degree, I guess, of ENCE last year or something like that, where they just play very solid, very smart Counter-Strike. I don't see them losing this game at all. Maybe they'll drop a map, but that's...
Yeah.
Yeah, Complexity is one of the biggest things this year, I think. They're coming to this year has been very strong, and while most of the teams has been like doing the same or even like a little bit worse than last year. So, but the Complexity is the ones that has been stepping up and has looked very good for my eyes.
Yeah, and I mean their trend is growing upwards all the time. Hello, Missy Pocahontas. And quick reminder, anyone in chat, if you have any questions, a topic you like us to talk about or anything, let us know. We can discuss everything. We have time. I'm more of a Dota player. We'll get to Dota, I promise you that. But yeah, I mean, Complexity is definitely, their trend is going upwards. I think config has been really good lately, and it just seems like the pieces of the puzzle are falling into their places at the moment, and I think there's a lot of good things coming for this squad.
Oh, definitely. Agreed on that. I think this team can definitely climb up to top 10 during summer, autumn, sometime, and they're looking super solid. I would definitely expect them to win this game. No. Next game.
Yeah. So we have, if we can say from the last tournament, the reigning champions, Natus Vinci versus the North from Denmark. And to be fair, I don't see any other results but 2-0 here for Navi.
No. I honestly, as good as Navi are looking right now, I don't know how anybody could go against them in this game. I mean, North seems like we talked about this in a YouTube video not long time ago, and North feels like they are, just average, not great ever, not terrible ever. But then DreamHack Open last time around, they lost. I think, they lost to Gen G when they went out, and that was quite a poor showing. I think they are just not great, and they don't seem to be improving it to that level either. So them beating Navi would be a bigger upset than NIP winning against Astralis in my book, and there's no way I think that it shouldn't be possible.
Funnily enough, looking at North's trend, the team performance, last summer they were ranked 8th in the world, and now they fell into 23rd place, and it's been just going down. So, it should be an easy 2-0 for Navi. I mean, of course, there's a chance that North takes their own map pick if they can come up with something that Navi isn't prepared for, and Simple is not popping off with Electronic. But it's definitely a Navi.
Yeah, what do you think about North? Because I think it's been like they have been going down in the shadows because NC is taking all the heat about their performance. I think if NC is doing great, I think North is the one who is going to get the heat about not performing. What do you think about that? Because I think North
That's actually a really interesting question. No.
What do you wait?
If you look at the way if you look North's performance, like take the last 6 months, it's actually really fucking bad. I excuse my language. They've been playing horribly. It's not as bad as ENCE, but it's close to it.
I mean, that's true. I mean, obviously that's true. But then again, we are not like ENCE went from a position where they were top 3 in the world 1 year ago, and they were actually having pretty consistent results during the spring and summer 2019. And I don't think, North didn't have those results. So I guess we are comparing to that. And then obviously the roster change for ENCE makes, the whole thing more spicy as well. But sure, I agree. I mean, North have, I don't even know if I can say that they fell off, because they didn't really, in my books, never really performed that on that level anyway. So I understand the comparison, but I think just ENCE, we had higher hopes for ENCE than North at some point last year. So
to be fair, North did win 2 8-tier events last year: DreamHack Open Sevilla and GGB Dice Challenge.
Yeah,
well,
I think
No.
ENCE was like a top 3 team, and North was like top 8 team or something like that, top 10 at least. But both of them are like in danger going out the top 30 right now, so I think it's comparable.
Yeah, comparable, but not like in full scale kind of.
Yeah,
but
of course.
both of them have.
Yeah, but my question is that if ENCE wouldn't have had their like downfall, would North be the one who is getting the heat right now?
In a way,
I don't
yes.
think so.
But at the same time, because North's peak has not been as high as ENCE's, they have not built enough kind of public interest for them to be shed on, because they haven't been relevant enough, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody expected North to be a top 10 team, but people expected ENCE to be able to keep up their form, at least to some degree, and maybe be a stable top 5 team. So I think it's quite different from...
I think Kjärpy did expect them to be top 3 team.
Well, but Kirby's expectations versus everything else is well, yeah. Right. Enough of Counter-Strike. It's been half an hour. Let's go to Dota next. So,
Well, we
Dota
do have
2.
one more game.
Oh, we do.
Fnatic
Right.
big.
That we
Oh.
can be.
Fnatic and big. Mm.
We can be quick though.
Yeah, we
But-
know Teemu, you are
It
Dota
doesn't
guy,
matter.
but
No. It's I forgot completely. It's okay. It's the first stream, so will be better in the future. Wee.
Well,
Yeah,
Fnatic's
Fnatic versus
gonna win
Big.
easy because our Swedish boys will do. That's it.
Well, well, I'd say there are other reasons. Besides that, I wouldn't say they'll win because they're Swedish per se, but Fnatic has been looking very, very, very solid lately. I don't know what Flush, JW, and Crims are eating for breakfast because they're all pretty old at the moment. But somehow they've been able to get everything together with Brollan and Golden, and it seems like the old Swedish powerhouse is ready to climb back to the top.
yeah, I
think so. I mean, I don't think they will be number one or dominant again, but I think I'm lagging again, but
Yeah.
maybe I can talk. I don't know. Anyway, I think Fnatic deserved almost to go to the final in Katowice. Like, they played really well. The loss against G2 in the semifinal was, in my books,
Yeah, we're hearing you.
We're hearing you.
Or no. Yeah, but yeah, it's not that bad.
It's not lagging. Like, we can still hear you.
Yeah, it's okay. No worries. It's a little bit laggy, but it's
Can he? Maybe he can't hear us.
yeah, that's very possible.
Let me
I can
check.
hear you now, but I don't know how far behind I am.
No, it's okay.
Yeah,
You are
it's-
with us. It's good. You can continue
Alright,
speaking.
good. Did you hear my rants about how good Fnatic were?
Yeah.
Yeah, we heard you.
You were here all the time. Like, okay.
No. Okay, cool. Well, then I've said what I have to say because I think Fnatic's looking really good, and they, in my books, they could.
Well, now he's gone. It's like you weren't lacking beforehand, and then the second we convinced you, like, it's okay, you can continue talking.
Great stuff. And this is something I'm struggling with on a daily basis. It's not.
Welcome to the island life.
Yeah, that's why we're
Thank
hosting this in Finland.
Yeah, that's why. Okay, so with that said, we think it's gonna be 2-0 Fnatic.
Yes.
By the way, if anyone is interested in esports betting, we have a Twitter account where we share esports betting tips for. I will link it to the Twitch chat, the account right
Yeah.
about now.
And I opened to some odds for today's games for you to see. It's
Yeah,
bet
so
365.
we will be posting betting tips for esports events, and all of them are combined with explanation why we think so. And we will post some of the stats from our betting tips that we have so far, so you can actually see the results of the things we have. Our ROI is above 100%, which is something we really much like to see. So, yeah. But enough of the betting talk and Counter-Strike for today. Let's switch into Dota 2, and after Dota 2, I think we're gonna talk about League of Legends a bit. So that's kind of the next agendas. Anything you want to open up with, either one of you?
Yeah, I have the tweet open here for you to see, so you can see what's going on. We're having Play to Save the World tournament, and Janis looked up a bit more about it. Can you tell us what is happening?
It's the WeSave or WePlay tournament.
Yeah.
Sorry, my stream is lagging, so I don't exactly see what people
Yeah,
can see.
it's a tweet.
Okay, sweet. Okay, well, anyway, it's kind of cool because WePlay has had quite a few tournaments lately. They had the minor, which everybody loved and thought was great. And now, in the absence, since we will not have the ESL One Los Angeles Major, we will also not have the Epicenter this year, well, Corona. They have made this tournament that is a global online tournament, which is a pretty damn great initiative since we don't have any other Dota going on. And they have, well, they will have 24 teams. Not all of them are announced yet, but everything, like I said, is played online. It's going to be teams from North America, South America, Europe, CS, China, SEA, from everywhere. So this looks really, really great. We have a bunch of good teams already in the tournament, like TNC. We have Invictus Gaming, Virtus Pro, Team Secret, Liquid, Beast Coast. Honestly, this looks, like a S tier tournament already, which is fully going to charity though. But I'm sure all the teams appreciate having a tournament on the table, and for us viewers, it's great that we get some entertainment when the other tournaments have been cancelled. So I love this initiative by WePlay, who, well, loves them already because their tournaments have been amazing. So this is just another one to the pile.
Yeah, I mean, to add on that, first of all, it's a beautiful initiative, and it tells a lot about
And I'm
the
sure I'm lagging.
You're lagging a little bit, but it doesn't matter. It's okay. But yeah, it's first of all just the initiative is great. We're in a very unique situation globally at the moment. Like traditional sports is all on pause. People are on lockdown, so we need to come up with ways to have some sort of entertainment for people, and major being postponed or cancelled because of this, and yet still the teams have the kind of the drive to do something like this together. Obviously, big kudos to WePlay Esports for organizing it, and it's just a way to bring everybody together to watch esports. I think we're gonna get a lot of new viewers, a lot of new people introduced to esports because of this, because there are no alternative options at the moment, and it's just a really nice and heartwarming thing to do, in my opinion. And I'm sure there will be more like this. You know what the Veloci Esports just did with the not Australian GP when they played the Australian GP in the Formula One simulator. They had Lando Norris there driving live, and a lot of the like Formula E drivers, the esports simulator drivers. There were some influencers and stuff, and the creativity that's flowing at the moment. What people are coming up with to kind of have ways to still communicate with people, to give people something new to think about and everything. And it's just great. In many ways, and to be able to kind of also give back to people in the sense. So a lot of good things going on, and the fact that WePlay Esports is organizing this is just fantastic, per se, and as many people as possible should be tune into that, whether you follow that or not. It's a great chance to learn about the game and see what it's about, and if you are capable of donating money for the people in need.
Did you know
So
that Lando Norris and Max Verstappen are actually part of the esports eSIM racing team? They are driving between F1 races. They're racing in sim racing competitively.
Yeah, no. Yeah, and Lando and Max are both also, they stream in Twitch.
Yep.
And I think there are some other drivers too. I've been watching some streams with Lando. He's hilarious. I was watching him on Sunday when he was driving the not Australian GP. He had like almost 100,000 viewers at the time.
Yeah, Lando is very popular, and he's very liked person in the sim racing community, and his stream is very nice. And actually, he streams like other people driving. If he's not driving, he's like casting his teammates driving and things like that, and it's very cool. Like
Wow.
usually the F1 drivers are doing things that are like benefiting themselves, but Lando is doing like good things for his team, and I really like his stream.
It's actually like we're kind of going sideline here, but it doesn't really matter. One of the like great things about it is like all these young F1 drivers. Like you have Lando, George Russell, Charles Leclerc. Uh, I won't mention the Canadian because he's there only because his dad paid for his seat. But like we have these.
Yeah, pretty much everyone, every Red Bull and Toro Rosso guys are youngsters.
Yeah, and it's just amazing because like they are playing with the like viewers, they're playing with fans online, and kind of combining the motorsports and esports together in this kind of community space is just super cool.
Yeah, I really like it.
You can hear me now, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Alright, so I changed to my phone internet because apparently that works better than the other one, so...
Well, hopefully we won't lose you as often as before.
No, this is usually much more stable, so no worries.
Okay, so back to Dota about a little bit of Formula One. Obviously, the WePlay esports, the charity tournament is about charity, so I don't think we won't experience kind of major or TI kind of Dota, but I think we're gonna see a lot of super fun Dota. I'm sure the teams are gonna be experimenting, and we're gonna see like the hand grenade techies, tinies, and things like that, just for the entertainment value. What do you guys think?
Definitely, it's gonna be a little bit different, of course, from like a real major or like TI level Dota. It's definitely gonna be a little bit more fun, but I still think we had some of these tournaments before. Well, not charity ones, but the informal like summits and tournaments that are a little bit more for fun, right? And usually the teams still take it serious enough, even though they experiment a little bit here and there. But I still think it's going to be a very good tournament, and the teams there are definitely world-class levels. So we'll see some good Dota with a mix of a little bit of fun in there. So I'm looking forward to it.
And well, as a background, Mika is more of a League of Legends kind of guy who still appreciates Dota. So
I can enjoy the good Dota game, and I really like the structure of Dota in a sense, because it's so different from League of Legends. So it's like interesting to compare the formats, how they do their things, and I can really enjoy like TI hype and things like that.
okay, actually, now that we kind of in the cross lines of Dota and League of Legends.
Oh no, here we go.
No. Let's keep this civil. So, as someone like myself who's more into Dota, like one of the biggest things or the biggest like visible differences is the kill amounts. Like the average kills in a Dota game are like closer to about 45, where in League it's somewhere like 25. So for example, when you look at the over and underlines for like the over underlines in betting in Dota, it's usually the mark is somewhere like 45.5. Where in League of Legends it's 25.5. So there's a 20 kill difference when it comes to just the betting lines alone. And in my eyes, like that's one of the like what makes League a bit more boring for me is that there's a lot less like kind of brawling action, and it's more about just farming the lanes and stuff like that. And that's kind of like I would like to understand where you kind of find the entertainment in it when it's a bit more static in the sense, maybe.
Yeah, well, that's true. But also, there is no buybacks in League, so like the buybacks makes it like more kill heavy, because you can sacrifice yourself and you can just buy back, and it's not a big problem. So I think that's one thing that makes it more kill heavy in Dota, and of course I think in League. The current meta is something that makes the game times shorter than in Dota 2. So I think I think the kills per minute it's not that different. but the game times are shorter, so the kills are more or less too because of that. That's the one thing. But you are right. I think in League there is more like macro things you have to do. You have to do like correct map movements, and the warding is giving so much more visibility than in Dota. So you are like
How come?
I,
What do you mean more visibility?
because for my experience, I think the League map is more visible with warding than the Dota map is in general. But
Yeah, well, I think part of it is because in Dota you have high ground and
yeah,
low ground.
yeah.
There's a lot of differences, but I'm not sure. But I think Dota map is a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
And but what is the average length of a League game at the moment?
I think it's somewhere around 30 minutes.
Let me
Yeah.
see. Dota
I think
2.
it's getting quite a bit closer because Dota games today are way shorter
Because
since
of the
the
neutral item
latest
change.
patch.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
I
games.
haven't watched the new patch that much.
No, sure. I just want to make one point. So Dota games have gone to be average about 35 minutes or so,
Okay,
or I guess
nice.
that's more of a median value. But I don't really mind, like, back in, if you go historically in Dota, we had less kills at some point too. I don't think, less kills or more kills doesn't mean better or worse. But what I feel when I watch League, and I might be completely off here because I don't watch enough, right? But I feel like what disturbs me as a Dota player is how passive it always seems for the first like 10 or 15 minutes. The kills do happen later in the game, but it's the early parts of the game that seem so static. And I guess that's a direct reason because you can't TP and so on, so it doesn't really incentivize people to move around the map as much as Dota probably. But I mean, I'm not saying it's for better or worse. I think less kills can mean that you focus on other things and you can excel in other ways. But I think the early game is what disturbs me with League when I'm so used to Dota, and Dota is like action packed from the first few minutes really.
Yeah, that definitely true. But League meta is moving a lot more than Dota meta is. So there is like times where you don't get any kills at the beginning of the game. But there are also times like beginning of this year where like early game junglers were buffed and everything else was worse than them. Like the junglers only were viable for first 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, they didn't do anything. They just go in and die. So you only played like early game junglers, and that makes the games more bloodier than usual.
Sure.
And so the league is patched every 2 weeks, and every 2 weeks the meta changes more or less. So it's making things different, and like you mostly watch the international games, yeah. And the international tournament are always the thing where you go and you really don't know how the meta is, you don't know how other players are playing the game, how the teams are making the decisions, so you are playing more safely than you usually play, because usually you know your opponent, but in international games you come from different metas, and you don't know your opponent, so it's less bloody in the international games, even if the skill difference is bigger sometimes, but the teams are playing more safely, so it's making the games less bloody. And it's actually thing in the league that different leagues around the world are playing different metas. So like in Chinese LPL, it's like Dota 2 games in steroids. They are like doing only only fighting, and then they are like double the bloodiness of the like LCS in North America. So different leagues are having very different approaches to the game. So it's like you know the leagues, and you decide what you want to watch. Where like of course you want to watch your home teams, but you also want to watch the meta you like. So people who are liking the bloodiness, they are going to LPL streams or maybe LAC sometimes. And if you want to watch like 45 minutes to 50 minutes games, you go to LCS and watch that shit. And
Already bashing North America. Nice.
yeah, but if you want to look very good macro and new things, you go to Korea and LCK and you can choose what kind of games you want to look. Of course, there are differences between the teams, but there are some main differences between the leagues, and that makes the international tournaments interesting, and like you have to come a little bit blind about the meta, because you don't know what is the strongest meta in that time. So
basically, what you're saying now is that the best League of, like, to be able to watch the best League of Legends, you need to watch mid-season invitational and then the Worlds in the autumn. So that's where you see the peak, because you have the mix of all regions.
Yeah, pretty much. And like the mid-season invitational is like some teams ain't taking that so seriously, and you don't have much time to prepare, because at least for now, because the spring season is going to be longer than ever. You don't have time to prepare for the mid-season invitational, so you come more blindly than ever, because you don't have the boot camp with international teams. You just come straight from your league to play against winners of another league. So mid-season invitational is important factor when you are getting ready for Worlds, because with season invitational everybody comes with their own meta and they play against each other, and you can see which meta is like the strongest at the time, and the summer season some of the teams will try to do the same things that mid-season invitational winner is doing. So because it's the strongest meta at the time, so they are trying to like evolve their game closer to that one, because it's supposed to be the best way to play the game for incoming Worlds.
It's quite different from Dota, obviously, because in Dota we have every tournament is international, basically, like the big ones, of course. So of course it's very different, because it's quite hard as a Dota fan or player as well to really understand how one region can be so different from one another. But I think back in the day, Dota used to be more like that, and today we just so used to, all the regions influencing each other all the time that we kind of forget about that. So, but that's very interesting. I think maybe we should move on and talk a little bit about what's going on in League in general, because there's quite a lot of the leagues that are not even playing at all, right? So,
there's one thing I want to mention before we go there, but because what Mika said about League of Legends being kind of like the best League of Legends you can enjoy is or are the international competitions, and it's the same for Dota. Like usually the best Dota you see in TI, it's because the teams that are in TI, especially the ones that are not ranked so high, they need to come up with something phenomenal to be able to beat the favorites, and because of that you see a lot of hero picks and strategies that no one's ever tested before, no one ever tried before. A pretty good example from last CI is when OG started picking position 1 IO. No one's played carry IO in an international tournament, and then OG just picks it up and wins the fucking tournament with it. Sorry, excuse my language. But yeah, so a lot of similarities, a lot of differences, and obviously both games have their ups and downs. But this is a really interesting discussion, because eventually what we could do is even during this podcast, like next week at some point, that we can actually just pull raw data and start comparing the data from League and Dota to compare these differences and kind of have a more in-depth conversation about it. But yeah, it's time to move onwards to see how's life in the League of Legends world at the moment.
Well, it's not good. Well,
Yeah.
One question.
yeah.
Instead of raw data, maybe we can have a fist fight between you two.
Yeah.
And just determine it that way. It should be easier, I think.
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
Data
Malta
is-
has closed its border, so it's hard for me to come hit there.
And I'm
Alright.
pretty sure our HR wouldn't like me punching an employee.
Alright, fair enough. Let's look at the numbers instead then.
Yeah.
But,
Nice try, man.
Yeah, but about the league, so there is 4 major leagues in League of Legends: Chinese, Korean, European, and North American. And at this point, every one of them has been on a break, and 3 of them is at break right now, and only LPL is played, and it's played via internet. So they were the first ones to go to the break, obviously, the Chinese league. So they have managed to get a solution how to play the games online, because high tier League of Legends has never been played online. It has always been offline. So this is something that hasn't been tried before. But I'm sure Korea, Europe, and NA will follow pretty soon. And at least NA has said that they are making the preparations to go online.
Yeah,
But
I think
yeah.
I'm actually surprised that we don't see this more. You know, we have like the Dota scene and everything. There's so much cancellation. I think the only logical move is to go online. I mean,
Yeah.
why not? Of course, I understand there's ping differences and so on, but it's the best we can do, right?
How LPL is doing that? The players are playing from their headquarters, so 5 players at the same place. There is one exception for that. Those are the players that are in quarantined areas, because when the corona quarantines started, it was the Chinese New Year, and the players traveled to their homes, to their families, and some of the players and coaches got quarantined because of that. So few of the players are playing from their families' homes. But other than that, all the players are playing in their organization's headquarters, and they have league official watching their games on site. So that's how it's done, and I think that's the thing they're trying to do in other leagues too. So they are going to send an official to every team house to watch the games. But it's not that easy. For example, in Europe, the OC Origin, they are playing in Denmark, and Denmark is closed. So it's not gonna be easy to get the league officials on site for those teams who are not playing from Berlin, because most of the League of Legends teams are playing from Berlin, because they are playing 2 days a week in Berlin studio. But like Origin, they are flying every week to Berlin, and they're spending the 5 days between the games in Denmark. So it's gonna be tricky to get. I think the LAC is the trickiest one to get, and the LAC has the problem that one of the production team member has been quarantined because of corona. So they are like quarantining the whole production team, because they are not sure about the spread of the corona in the production team. So it makes the LAC a bit trickier than others. But I don't at LCK there was one case that they thought it could be corona, but it wasn't. So their production team is okay, and they are ready to go online when they have the preparation ready. And same with NA, they have no corona in the production team, or the players or the coaches, so they are ready to go online too when they have all the preparation ready.
No, that's good then.
But the LAC is not gonna be up for next few weeks. I think it's gonna be longer than that. Europe
Yeah.
is tricky now.
How do you see, because obviously it's a unique situation where all teams kind of have to and leagues have to adapt to the situation that we're in currently, but um, if it comes to a point where they are unable to get officials to where Origin is playing, for
Yeah.
example, do you see a way for the game still to be played without officials in place and just trust in the kind of dignity of the players to handle everything professionally?
Uh, I think there has to be some overhead camera or something that they can be sure of the dignity of the games. But
Yeah.
it's of course it's online and these are professional organizations, so I trust them. I think it's gonna be okay, but there is big money in these tournaments, so I think they have to make the measures to and of course it's big money in betting too, so they have to make sure it's the dignity is okay in the games. But I don't think it's a problem. I think every team wants to play, and every player has said in Twitter and elsewhere in their streams that they want to play, and like it's a unique situation actually because the players have some free time now because they don't have any screams in the game days, so they have like 2 extra days a week for free. So they've been streaming more, and there has been multiple different in-house streams and other like organized events for League One fans. It's just been really nice. I watched a lot of those last weekend because the LEC and LCS got cancelled really late before the games. Like LEC got cancelled 15 minutes before the games were supposed to start. So they did some special streams and special events, special in-houses of both of the game days, and same with LCS. So it was good fun for the viewers. It was like it's not the usual numbers, but very large numbers of the people came to see the in-houses and things like that, and they had some fun with it. Like in LCS, they played like 2016 TSM versus current TSM game and things like that. So
It's pretty cool actually.
yeah.
Yeah, it's super nice, and we spoke about this the other day that just the creativity of people and the professionals and the event organizers, tournament organizers, coming together and kind of fixing something up to be able to provide some sort of entertainment for the people who've been looking forward to this. Obviously, the fact that people can see uh, further than their own kind of problems at the moment and just try to provide something for the people in lockdown globally. So
Yeah.
uh, uh, it's just kind of like the situation. If you look at it as a whole, esports is now kind of the savior of everything, because if we didn't have esports, the way it's going at its current state, being able to kind of cater for such wide audiences and to actually have professional level broadcasts and production for people to kind of understand that, like, so a lot of new people now who are getting introduced to esports, they're like, wow, like this is actually high level production, and
Yeah.
there's actually professional athletes and there's so much happening around it, and obviously there's a lot of people who make their living out of betting, for example, like professional bettors, and because all traditional sports are now on pause, esports gives them an opportunity to still maintain their way of living and things like this. So there's a lot of positives, and just seeing kind of the responses everywhere, every single stream, every single YouTube video, everything people are doing is getting very nice positive responses all over the place. So um, obviously this is our way to kind of participate in the action and try to keep up with everything, and in my eyes it's just so great to see that people coming together and trying to make the best out of the situation that we are in, because we're in it together.
Yeah, actually about that, last night I witnessed a very very heartwarming stream. There's a reporter Ashley Kang. She's a freelance reporter in Korea, and she's making the like English content about LCK, the Korean league, because there is not much English content about the league, other
Yeah.
than the live stream. And when the LCK got cancelled, she moved her content about LCS because she got to make the living. And now LCS is cancelled, so she was pretty bummed out about that and was thinking that, okay, how do I pay my rent and things like that. In the weekend via Twitter, and then last night she tried live streaming. First time she streamed like just chatting and Orient the Blind Forest and things like that last night, and there was such a good amount of league people showing their support for her in the like different like the hard situation, and there was like fnatic, G2 Esports, Cloud9, TSM, Flycast, and other organization with their organizations, Twitch channels supporting the stream, and of course they're having fun with each other in the chat. They are like trash talking other organizations in chat and things like that. But that's the thing people come to see, and it just brought so many viewers to first time streamer, and there was like couple hundred people watching the stream and supporting her. But like she said, she expected like 10 people to come, and there was like 300 people. And
Sure.
it was like really cool experience, because she has been very open about the freelance reporters situation in this, and people wanted to show the support for her. So it was a really cool stream.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
those are kind of what you want to see. I mean, we humans, we can be really cruel and harsh on one another, but during times like these, you kind of still find the genuinity in people and the kindness and the empathy. Obviously, because of this crisis, a lot of people will lose their jobs. It's very unfortunate, and like basically, if you think about it, like freelance sports reporters globally, all over the world, they've got nothing to do. Like the only one, like the sports reporters that have something to do are the people working with esports, and even the esports reporters are fucked in one way, or some of them, not all, but some of them. So it's heartwarming, like you said, to see like the communities supporting these people who are affected in it in the worst way, and you know, a lot of these charity events will keep popping up. I mean, this thing is going to affect the world, not just for months, but the effects are long term. There's a lot of people who are going to be in a very bad situation for a longer period of time, and just seeing the others kind of pulling together and helping out the best way they can is just amazing. And like one of the best things that I've seen for a while was I'm pretty sure it happened elsewhere too, but in Finland was that people living in like apartment buildings said that like if you know that you have some elder people living in, like, go knock on their door and ask what they need from the store, you know, help people out, go to store for someone else, you know. Maybe it's half an hour from your life, but that half an hour might save someone from infection and make sure that, you know, some 85-year-old lady or old man in your building who might be lonely, you know, has something to munch with, and, you know, maybe someone to chat with for 5 minutes, you know, kind of. It brings out a lot of kind of the natural humane aspects from our lives that we might have kind of lost because of the advancement of technology. Like myself, I've been kind of evacuated from my home now for, this is my 6th day or 5th day, 5th holiday now, right? And I don't think I've been speaking over the phone as much with like my friends, family, and relatives in years. Like every time when I have some time, I'm on phone calling someone like, "Hey, how you doing?" And like I realize that I'm doing it because of the situation that's going on, because everything is uncertain, and yeah, even though it's a devastating situation, we can still find a lot of positives out of it and kind of you know, be a bit more humane in the sense, kind of forget about everything like what technology has gave us and just go back to our roots to socialize with people and you know, actually give a shit about what our friends and relatives are doing.
Yeah, one cool thing that I've seen in Sweden and Finland, that like the sports teams are like getting very good support from their fans. Some ice hockey teams, they are selling their playoff tickets. They are like collection tickets or something like that, and people are buying like full house of tickets just to support their team because they are losing shit ton of money because of playoffs cancelled and things like that. Both Sweden and Finland teams has done that. They are selling their first playoff game tickets for their fans, and they can support the team that way. And people are really supporting the organizations that are really affected by this situation.
Yeah,
That's cool for sure.
and another like cool thing is to see like how the different sports teams are kind of taken on the situation in social media. Like
Yeah.
I think everybody who uses Twitter and follows sports team at this point have seen the teams playing like for Connect. I think it was PaySafe card who started it last week, and then like all sports team kind of picked it up and like, hey, like football teams were playing the Suomen Cup. It's like the Cup of Finland, whatever, like Finnish Cup. Oh yeah, kind of FA Cup, but the Finnish one. Like the teams were playing their matches as Connect Four. Some hockey teams were playing their matches as Connect Four, and just these small little things, but the amount of entertainment it provides to people is amazing. Yeah, it's just kind of it, it's a horrible situation, but there's so many positive outcomes that we've seen even so far. Like eh, it's fun and it's just genuinely nice to see the way people are kind of reacting in a situation like this.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are some who are kind of spreading the havoc and panic, but you know, the panicking it doesn't help. It only makes things worse for yourself and the people around you. But yeah, it's hard to kind of put it into words, obviously. And I feel like I'm kind of stuttering a lot when talking about this. But you know, uh, even this kind of helps a ton because we are able to kind of talk about these things, and at the same time we can interact with other people. It's super nice and kind of I guess it helps us a lot also.
Yeah, and it's we are also like inside the four walls of our homes, so it's important for us to get to talk about things we love to talk about. We cannot go to office and do that, so I think this is a very good way to do that.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think from an esports perspective, I mean, like we talked about before, it's really cool to see the creativity. For me, I think is like what I'm taking away from the esports side of things, where we need to create entertainment, we need to get teams playing, we need to come up with other solutions, and it creates a lot of fun stuff. Of course, this situation is unfortunate, as said, right? But it's still we still come up with a lot of good stuff from it, and it's going to be super interesting to see what follows. And well, hopefully the situation sorts itself, and we don't need to come up with solutions for everything. Instead, we can go back to normal, right? But meanwhile, I think there's a lot of good stuff happening, and you know, esports is kind of interesting from that perspective, right?
Yeah,
So
and esports has to step it up now because there is no other sports to follow. So esports has to like do things correctly, and they have to get their online leagues and online tournaments ongoing as soon as possible because there is huge hole and an emptiness in the sports category right now. So I think esports has to step it up.
Definitely, and I think it's already we can see there's a lot going on with a lot of games are beating new records. You know, they never had this many players and so on, and you know, the esports competition part of itself is obviously very key as well to continue doing it, so people have entertainment and you know people are home and need it.
Yeah, something I would like right now is high tier sports games and simulator games tournaments, because I would love to see how much of the people who's usually watching racing or football or ice hockey, how many of them would enjoy watching those played as esports, because it would be like 5-hour NHL championship esports tournament right now would be best the game could hope for, because now there's people who's like waiting for the ice hockey playoffs to start and they have nothing right now. So I would like them to have a possibility to start try watching NHL esports. Same goes with iRacing and things like that.
I mean, it's obviously a cool situation to grow the interest and show people what it is, and you know, not everybody will enjoy it, obviously, but if a few do, it's pretty cool that we can move forward that way, right? So definitely.
And I think I don't remember which teams it was, but it was a football team, and I think it might have been a Europa League game. Like like a professional football player for each team played the game on FIFA online, and they streamed it somewhere. So these kind of things. So kind of like there's a lot of variables that teams can do in this kind of situation. And yeah, esports and gaming and like PCs, consoles, everything is a platform that kind of provides the possibility to still kind of compete in a fun way. Obviously, it's not official, but it's something. And yeah, it's interesting to see all the things that are gonna kind of follow in the upcoming weeks, or what kind of things we're going to see, because this is definitely just kind of the grassroots stuff that we're seeing. I'm kind of objective about how long this situation is going to last. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be over in a week or two, which means it might go on for a couple months. So a couple months is a long time to be without any traditional sports. So it's interesting to see what kind of initiatives we're going to get out of from this.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, I mean, of course we can't really speculate in how long it's gonna last, right? But it's definitely gonna be quite a while. So, and yeah, we should probably, you know, we discussed this whole Corona thing quite a bit now, anyway. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, basically, and meanwhile we can enjoy some esports at least. And
yeah. So just kind of to conclude all of this, there's ESL Pro League games today. I think there's actually more Counter-Strike with Flashpoint.
Yeah,
also.
Flashpoint is
so
also.
Let's go over Flashpoint quickly and then call it a day, and we will be back tomorrow.
Can you send me the link so I don't have to find it?
There you go.
Thank you.
So today, Wednesday, the 18th of March 2020, we have two games in Flashpoint. The first one starting at 6 p.m. GMT +1 is going to be Envy versus MIBR.
I think
Janne?
actually those games are for tomorrow.
No, this is when. Oh yeah, today is Tuesday.
Yeah. I was like, there's no game.
There's no no Flashpoint today.
Yeah, let's talk about Flashpoint tomorrow, I think.
Yeah. I mean, we can just quickly. It just started. There hasn't been that much going on yet, but we had Habu beating Mad Lions. That was pretty cool.
Good game also.
Yeah, it was actually great. Then we had a pretty fun result when Chaos beat MIBR, and I'm not surprised anymore because MIBR is like the South American Ents or something. They just suck. That was pretty fun. Dignitas, I like watching them. It's the old guard, so it was fun seeing them. They won their game 2-1. They had Guardian step in actually that game, which was also interesting. And Guardian sucked as much as he usually does, but at least they won. So
But his trash talk was on point. I see one clip about that. And
Alright. No, but okay. Flashpoint to me is it's semi fun to follow. The level of the teams is what it is, I guess. But let's see. There's still some fun games going on, and at least I enjoy watching a few of them. So
yeah,
that's my view.
Well,
I want to say a few things about Flashpoints. I watched the starting broadcast where they draft the groups, and that was really interesting that the teams drafted their groups, and also I'm really interested about Flashpoint's point of view about that they are really encouraging trash talk and like teams going head to head in interviews and things like that. It's something different. Of course, it reminds me of like North American talk shows kind of things, and I think that's gonna be great for NA viewers because it's familiar than for the talk shows and their sports shows. So I really think that's gonna get more NA viewers to Counter Strike. But as a European, I found it little bit unprofessional in some cases that they are encouraging teams to trash talk each other and they what it's the when you know who are behind the Flashpoint, it's not that big of a surprise, but for me I found it a little bit hard to watch.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying, but I was being a little bit negative on Flashpoint here because of the level of the teams, right? But I want to say that in general they are doing a great job with everything else, like the production.
Yeah,
There was
exactly.
some audio issues, but they do a lot of cool things, and I'm really looking forward to seeing, where it goes later because I really, really like it. But yes, for me to be completely immersed and like it a lot, the team level needs to go up. But obviously, that's something that might happen in the future, right? So this far, impressed with the work they have done for sure. Then my interest in following it is not that high anyway. But
Yeah.
let's
The
leave
the,
that
the
aside.
ideal situation would be that we get some kind of game between Flashpoint winners and ESL Pro League winners, and get more like international cooperation, but it's not going to happen between these two for certain amount of time because that much has happened between these two organizations. But for if I look at outside all this drama, I would really like that the NA teams would play in Flashpoint, like NA and South America teams play in Flashpoint, and like rest of the world would play in ESL Pro League, because that would be like pretty much perfect solution for me. At least if we have to play some games online, and if this things is going longer and longer, because right now there is gonna be problems. I think Flashpoint is not gonna be played offline for the whole league, and the ESL Pro League is not going to go offline anytime soon. So there's gonna be problems because of teams being all over the world. So
SMP Esports. I'm not asleep. I was talking with my bank actually.
okay.
So I had my phone on my hand, which is
Yeah.
why I'm like this. But no. Yeah, I mean, the only kind of, because Flashpoint and ESL Pro League are played at the same time, so one would assume that Flashpoint's viewer amounts will be lower. quite simply, obviously, because most of the tier 1 teams are playing ESL Pro League. But as a Finn, I want to follow, or I am following, excuse me, Havu. And, I don't know if you saw their game versus Mad Lions, but my God, what a comeback.
Yeah, it was cool. I enjoyed that a lot, actually.
And Havu is playing very good Counter Strike lately, and only reason they're not higher in ESL TV rank is because they haven't been playing in the big tournaments, which gets them most of the points. So they are only playing like secondary tournaments, and that's only reason they are so low. But I think they can really compete with like around position 20 teams and even position 15 teams right now. Maybe not top 10, but everything under that, I think they are really competing and they can win like anybody in next 20 positions above them.
I definitely agreed. And it's nice to be the best team in Finland, so that's not too bad.
I mean,
Pretty good job.
when the next HLTV update comes, Havu will be above ENS. So
I don't think above. I think the point difference is so huge right now.
It is.
Their position difference is not great, but the point difference is still huge.
Let me
They
see.
will
They
be
got
close.
like double. It's like 50. Like I think Habu has about 50, and it's about 100.
Yeah,
But I
ENS
mean,
is 108, Havu is 52.
Yeah,
look, rankings
that's
are
so
ranking.
huge.
I think there's much more. Rankings work a certain way, but there's obviously, there's other elements, and a lot of times a team that didn't pick up points is significantly better than one that did. Like it's
It's
not everything.
Yeah, it's because the different tournaments are ranked differently. So even if Havu wins the minor and NC is bad at majors, their point difference isn't that huge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But either way, I think. Do we have anything else to add about the?
No, I think that's about it for today. We'll try to kind of get some visitors for maybe, if not this week, then the week after. Obviously this is the start, so it's a bit rusty in the beginning to kind of get into the flow. But this has been really nice. Kind of, we covered a lot of esports in hour and a half that we've been live so far, and I think it's good to continue from this tomorrow.
Yeah, and we have still a few games we didn't mention today, like Overwatch and Hearthstone and things that has been affected by Corona, and of course we have new results from the ESL Pro League tomorrow, so we have still lots of things to do.
Yeah, I would say tomorrow let's start with going over Overwatch, Hearthstone, then check the results from ESL Pro League, kind of talk a bit about that, and then we'll try to kind of combine what's happening overall, if there's something new announcements coming up or something. I heard that Veloci Esports might be doing not the Bahrain GP, also to cover up for Bahrain. So definitely trying to talk something about that. I actually talked with Mickey. He works at Veloci Esports as a social media manager. He tries to come to visit us one day. We'll see how it goes, because of the NOD-OS GP kind of started blooming a bit more than they expected, and there are only 6 guys working the company, so might not have the time, which is quite understandable. I've also invited Chris Kezak from SMP Esports, and we hope he might be able to come. And obviously, so if we can get like pro players, organization like general manager from organization, something, obviously we're more than welcome to get people in. So if anyone from the chat knows someone who wants to come, or anyone from the chat wants to come, we might be able to make that happen. But obviously,
if there's something you want us to cover and want us to talk about, you can always give your ideas in the chat or in Twitter. and we are more than happy to cover whatever you want.
Yeah.
Most definitely. I need to start doing some betting tips today, so we need to wrap this up.
Yeah, I'm gonna put our Twitter in the chat now. Follow that. Then for other kinds of stuff, and yeah, we'll be back tomorrow at the same time, which is noon GMT +1. So it's 1 p.m. in Finland and 11 a.m. in UK. For other places, it's other times of the day.
We are
Perfect.
getting Just Dance episode. It seems.
It has been a great show, guys. Waiting for the Just Dance episode. It's definitely coming. I'm pretty sure you're Chris, so we'll do it when you're with us, Chris. Let's do it like that. How does that sound? Yeah. With that said, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks, Mika and Janne, and
Thank
we'll
you.
continue this tomorrow. So
See you
have a
tomorrow.
good day, everybody.
Have a good day and enjoy some great CS:GO later today.
Yep,
Yes.
see ya.
Ciao.
Peace out. Bye bye.